Welcome to Healthy Relationships for Youth, Session 9, Sex, Drugs, and Decisions. Throughout this session, it is important to avoid perpetrating the myth that alcohol or drugs are an excuse for sexual assault. The following information helps break down this myth and is adapted from a document published by the Canadian Women's Foundation. Question: to avoid sexual assault, shouldn't people take responsibility for their own safety and avoid drinking too much or meeting up with strangers? Answer: the only party responsible for sexually assaulting or harassing another person is the perpetrator. Holding survivors accountable for the violence they experience is called victim blaming, and it is not only unfair, it's also dangerous. Victim blaming leads many people to believe abuse is their fault and makes them less likely to come forward and report sexual offenses. There is a myth that sexual assault is usually committed by strangers, but in about 80% of cases, the sexual assault survivor knows the offender. There is research linking alcohol to sexual assault, but the fact that alcohol consumption and sexual assault frequently co-occur does not demonstrate that alcohol causes sexual assault. There is also a double standard. While alcohol consumption is sometimes used to excuse the abuser's behavior, it is also often used as a reason to blame the victim for the abuse. Please keep this in mind in order to avoid perpetrating the myth that alcohol and drugs are an excuse for sexual assault. In general, when discussing the scenarios for this session, you can try and think about the ways that consent is important for all relationships, not just sexual relationships. Is someone in the scenario being pressured or intimidated in order to get them to do something? This is not respecting their boundaries and not behavior that occurs in healthy friendships. It might be helpful to ask students to think back to session 2 and 3, as lots of the scenarios in this session involve boundaries and conflict in the context of alcohol and drugs. Thanks for listening, and have a great session.